Today I'm going to show you a pretty simple way of getting a report out of Advanced Reporting that could be pretty useful. There's a lot of fear about using Advanced Reporting because it can be difficult, and there are a lot of new concepts that even people who've used other reporting tools have to get used to. But we're going to start off slow here, and we're just going to come in with a very simple report. I'm going to go to the report list first, and I'm going to use Start from Scratch. Whenever I create a report myself, I use Start from Scratch. I know what's in that. I know that it brings in all of the data and that it will be consistent every time I use it. Some of the other starter reports have different fields in them or don't bring in all of the data. Will only bring in the data that works for that specific report. So again, using Start from Scratch, I know everything's in there. So when you launch Start from Scratch, you're going to have this screen here and this area here, which is the sheet you're going to be working on. You've got this text here. And if I right click, which I just did, nothing really happens. So in order to actually start doing anything here, you had to bring in an object from the library. Generally, I'll just double click on comments, and I can get rid of that box later if I want to, and then I'll close the library. As I said, everything generally starts with a right click. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to do a new sheet object. And in this case, and in most cases, in what I do, and probably what you would do in Advanced Reporting, you're going to create a chart object. A chart object can take many forms, can show data in a lot of different ways. In this particular example, I'm just going to create a pivot table. This might be something that we would print out or something we would export to Excel. So I clicked on the pivot table there, and I'm going to go next. Okay, so with a chart, there are basically two things that you have to do. One, you have to tell it how you want to organize the data. And in Advanced Reporting and QlikView, those are called dimensions. So I'm going to do a customer report, but I'm going to get to the customer field by going into the Transactions table, which is the most important table within Advanced Reporting. It's basically where all of the information, all the data resides for creating P&L, creating balance sheet, creating transaction detail reports. So everything sits within the Transactions table. So I'm going to scroll down here until I get to Transactions.Customer Full Name. I'm going to click on it and then click Add here. It's going to be simple at first, so let's just go to Next. And then we get to the edit expression box, and this is generally where people start to get a little freaked out with Advanced Reporting because there's no real guidance on what you do at this point. So we can use the tools down here. We have some fields, functions, variables, images. In this case, I'm just going to start typing here. We're going to use the sum function. When in doubt, a lot of the functions that you use in Advanced Reporting are pretty close to those that you might use in Excel, and so sum is one example of this. All right, in sum, for this example, we're going to do a pretty simple one. So we're just going to sum a particular field, and for that, we're going to use something called Transactions.Amount With Sign. Generally, I would start typing here, but for this example, I'm going to just go into down here to this fields, and we're going to look in the transactions table. All right, and then I can click here and see all of the fields that are in there. And so we're just going to go down to Amount with Sign and then paste that in. All right, and we're ending it here, and now I'm going to go OK. And let's finish this. We can certainly clean it up. We can put in labels and everything, but I want to basically show you, how the guts of this works. So we're going to finish here. All right, so we've got something here. It's got customer full name in this column, and it's got numbers in this column. At this point, though, it's actually not really telling us much of anything because that's transactions amount with sign is on nearly every transaction. So that could be an amount from an estimate, which we wouldn't want to show up if we were trying to calculate actual income from a customer, or it might be an expense transaction that's tagged to this customer. So we're going to make this into an income by customer report, and we do that not by, we can do it by modifying this table, but what we're going to do is we're going to put some filters on the data that will affect this table. So again, being advanced reporting, being click view, if we right click, we can go to select fields. And I'm going to put a few fields on here that are going to allow us to make this a much more useful report. And again, I'm going to go back to the transactions table. And I'm going to select account type. In this case, I'm going to double click to get it to show up on the fields displayed over here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and I'm going to go down to the P's here. Okay, and I'm going to put pending on there, and I'll tell you why in a second, and I'm going to put posting on there as well. All right, and then finally I'm going to go down to transactions, transaction date. This is another key field. Transactions amount with sign is one you'll be using often, and then transaction date is another one. So I've selected these four, I hit OK, and what's going to happen is now we're going to see these boxes show up on the sheet here with the report, or with the table. So let me make this a little bit smaller so it doesn't get in the way as much. Drag these things around. Put this here and this here. Okay. All right, so like I said, this certainly looks like a bunch of numbers, but they're probably not valid because there are a number of things going on here. So the first thing is that we could have pending transactions in here. You can have a pending invoice, for instance, which means it is sitting there. It's not going to post anything. It's not going to change your inventory numbers. If it has inventory items, it's not going to show up on the P&L. So we're going to make this so that we only have non-pending transactions showing up here. All right. The other thing, or the next thing, is that we only want posting transactions. We don't want to have estimates. We don't want to have sales orders or purchase orders showing up on here. So we're going to select one for posting transactions. You can see in that case some of these numbers changed because there were estimates or there was something else sitting out there for these particular customers. Okay. But we still have a lot of different things going on here. This is summing the field transactions amount with sign, but it's could be hitting any of these account types here. So we're going to do an income report. So now we actually have some numbers that we can use for something because we have now income summed by customer. So this is for the life of whatever data happens to be in QuickBooks. So if we want to filter this down a little bit to some date range, unfortunately this is an example file, so the ranges are a little bit strange here. But we're going to make this, I'm going to use the search box on here, and we're only going to look at transactions in the year 2023. So to do that, we click on the little magnifying glass, greater than or equal to 1/1/23, less than or equal to 12/31/23. And now you can see we have a report showing total income by customer across for the year 2023. So this is a useful report. You can use this in a number of different ways. You could print it out. You could send it to Excel. You can further filter it, and that's something that I'll show you in another video coming up soon.